everyone, and welcome back to my channel. As you can see by the title, we're gathered here today for a very special occasion, the year-end list of my favorite songs of 2022. So to celebrate the year, get yourself a glass of champagne. I actually have actual crystal glasses, but I am afraid of breaking them because they are from my mother's wedding and she would kill me if I did. So I have like a regular glass, but it's the intention that matters, isn't it? So get yourself some champagne and let's celebrate and do a count, shall we? I'm very excited for this. It's one of my favorite moments of the year, so let's get started. So what are the criteria? Well, I'm adopting the same criteria as last year, but this year we have less impact from that. So only tracks that were released in 2022 are valid. A track that was released in 2021 but came out in a 2022 album isn't valid. A track that was remixed in 2022 isn't valid. A re-recorded track, last year we had a few examples of that with Taylor, but now we don't, is not valid. But still, I'm keeping the rule because why not? And lastly, no tracks that were released as singles in 2022 but were actually in a 2021 album are valid. I am not evaluating singles, I am evaluating album tracks. Not every track here has been reacted to in the channel, not every artist here has been reacted to in the channel, and some stuff that we have reacted to in the channel may or may not be here. This is a list of my favorite picks, so it doesn't mean anything other than the fact it's a list of my favorite picks of the year for the best songs of 2022. Before we get started though, I have some honorable mentions. These are tracks that I liked a lot, but still were not quite up there with my top 15. They are in no particular order. The top 15 is ranked from least favorite to best track of the year, but these are in no particular order. They are just tracks I like. I'm gonna read them to you because I don't have 10 names in my head. Hope you don't mind that. So we have Boyfriend, Dove Cameron, Boys Don't Cry, Anitta, About Damn Time, Lizzo, Late Night Talking, Harry Styles, Unholy, Sam Smith and Kim Petras, Her, Megan Thee Stallion, Maybe You're the Problem, Ava Max, Did You Know That There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard, Lana Del Rey. I am very excited for her album, by the way. I think it's gonna be good based on this track. Super Freaky Girl, Nicki Minaj, and lastly, I'm Good, David Guetta featuring Bebe Rexha. Now on to our top 15. We're gonna start with Vegas by Doja Cat. Doja Cat is one of my favorite artists out there at the moment, okay? I listened to Planet Her on this channel and it was good. I think Hot Pink is still her best album, but after some of the tracks we heard and some of the directions I know she can go to with Planet Her, I am very excited to see what she does next. Unfortunately, I haven't yet watched the Elvis film, but I will say, based on Vegas, I think the film is outstanding. It's really a shame that because of some of the originality criteria, she wasn't able to compete for artists in original tracks, such as the Oscars and the Golden Globes, because I think she would definitely be a strong contender for the position, given the fact the track is good. She's a terrific songwriter. She raps her soul in this track. No wonder why it's nominated for a Grammy of Best Rap Performance. And the film was quite popular with critics and public alike. I am very excited to hear what Doja has next for us in 2023, but so far we have Vegas at number 15. Number 14, You Keep Me Crawling, Aurora. The Gods We Can Touch was one of the first albums I listened to in this channel this year of original material, way back in January. Do you remember that? It has some incredible tracks. I am still not quite over A Time Isn't Temporary High, but if I can only pick one song per album, per artist, so I'll have to include You Keep Me Crawling, which is a track that I'm still listening to constantly every day. It's probably the only track in this album that I still constantly hear and I still feel like I felt the first time. It's amazing. Her vocal performance is unmatched and it's absolutely everything. Number 13, Bet You Wanna, Sabrina Carpenter. Sabrina Carpenter is an artist that I never brought to the channel and I cannot quite tell you why, but I've known her music Well, I've known her for a long while because I was a Disney kid, but I've known her music for a while now, I believe since 2020 when she released Act 1. And I have a friend who's really fond of her, and we used to listen to a lot of her tracks and get together and discuss them. But I never quite connected to her on a personal level, and that's not a critique on her persona or anything. It's not about her, really. It's not. It's about me and the fact I, for some reason, am not a follower of her. I don't consider myself a fan, but I do follow her music. And when I heard that she had dropped Emails I Can't Send, I had to listen to it. I unfortunately didn't bring it to the channel. I cannot tell you why. I think I may have been caught up in Mariah Carey, and my schedules at university got in the way. I barely listened to any new albums of new artists this year in the channel. I was so focused in doing other things and I could only react to one album per week. But regardless, I listened to Emails I Can't Send on my own and fell in love with the album. It's so wonderfully written. The track Emails I Can't Send, which is very short, it doesn't even have 2 minutes, it's outstanding. Read Your Mind, it plays in my mind every time, lives rent-free there. I also really love Nonsense, which is kind of becoming a sleeper hit on TikTok, and I really do wish it becomes a big hit because she deserves that. But personally for me, no track means more in Emails I Can't Send than Bet You Wanna. It's great, it's groovy, it's fun, it's dancey. Didn't think about it when you love me now. The bass is outstanding and it's really a nice track. That's why it's number 12 in my list. Sorry, that's why it's number 13, because number 12 is Vermelho by Glória Groove. Glória Groove is an artist I have never reacted to in the channel. It's an artist most of you likely do not know because she's a Brazilian artist. He's a drag queen. He's a famous voice actor. Most notably, he dubbed Aladdin in the 2019 Disney film. I don't remember if that's the year it came out, but I think it was the 2019 Disney film. And more recently, he's taken over other drag artists in Brazil and became the most popular one. This year especially was very big for him. He dropped Lady Leste, Lady East in English. And one of the tracks I loved in that album, my mom would say differently. My mom's favorite track is A Queda, The Fall. My favorite track is Vermelho, Red, because if you don't know, this year was election year in Brazil, and the color of the party that won, the party that should have won and defeated right-wing Bolsonaro, was the Workers' Party, Labour Party, PT, by Lula, and its color is red. So I was very much a fan of the color red this year, and that's why Red, the track, Vermelho, Glória Groove, is in my top 12 favorite tracks of the year. Not to mention the fact it's very nice, very groovy, very funky, and not American funk, Brazilian funk, which is a totally different genre, but equally as good. Number 11, scratching the top 10, but not quite getting in there, is Mistake Like You by Sigrid. Originally, I had Sigrid at number 6 with Burning Bridges, but then I did some research and found out that Burning Bridges was released in 2021, but was available in the 2022 album How to Let Go, which we reacted to in the channel. So unfortunately, I had to pick my second favorite track, and that wasn't good enough to make it in the top 10. Regardless of that, it's an amazing song that talks about one of my favorite ways of dealing with breakups, which is to acknowledging that the person you were with is part of your life. That's not gonna change that. The denial of it isn't gonna change it. So you have to acknowledge whatever good they did to you, whatever good you passed with them. Sigrid writes it, pens it down wonderfully in one of my favorite tracks of the year, one of my favorite tracks in her album. Not my favorite because, again, Burning Bridges just does that extra kick, but sadly, Burning Bridges was released in 2021, and we are talking about my favorite songs of 2022. Still, How to Let Go is one of my favorite albums of the year. Sigrid is an artist that I was very gladly introduced to in this channel by you guys who recommended I should listen to her 2017, I think it's 17? I don't remember correctly actually, album Sucker Punch, which I had already heard a few tracks. I fell in love with her, I followed her, I listened to Mirror when it came out, and I listened to How to Let Go when it came out this year in the channel, and it has its presence here. Now, coming in at number 10, another artist you probably don't know, Polina Gagarina with the track Voda, Water. One of the craziest things I did this year, and trust me, this year was very, very crazy, was to begin learning Russian. I entered university this year, and one of the subjects I can take if I want to is Russian language, and I decided to do that. Why, you may ask? Well, I already speak 3 languages, I like learning languages, I love culture, I love connecting to languages and culture, and personally, and please don't take this politically, I am quite fond of Russian history, literature, and whatnot, culture in general. So I did with Russian what I had already done with English and Spanish. I sought cultural references, films, TV shows, and of course my favorite cultural reference, and you must have guessed it because I have done nothing but that in this channel, music. Let me tell you, it wasn't an easy task, okay? Finding out female pop dance artists in Russia isn't very easy to do. I managed to find several of the older artists, including Alla Pugacheva, which is great, but still I felt that there was something lacking, and that's when I came across Polina Gagarina and her 2022, how curious, huh? Album Vdokh, Breath, if I have pronounced it correctly. The album doesn't have a single bad track. Honestly, I think it's my favorite album of the year. If I were to do a favorite albums of 2022, it would probably rank at number 1. It's rather short, it only has 9 tracks, but it's dance pop perfection. Other tracks could have made it here, such as Niema Yokina or Plakali, but Voda, again, just like what happened with Sigrid, it does that extra thing that makes it enter in my top 10. And it's really good. It could even be higher, but I only found out about her like 2 to 3 weeks ago, so I don't feel like it's fair, much like I felt when I'm gone in my 2021 year-end list. Let me pour some more. Promise I won't end up drunk by the end of the video, okay? I had something to eat before this. I might get a little tipsy, but we should be fine. It's New Year, right? Number 9, Sentadona, Luísa Sonza. There are other artists featuring in it. I honestly can't remember the name, but the remix is what counts. And now, I did say remixes wouldn't count, but this one actually does because it has original material. It's not only the beat that was remixed, we have Luísa Sonza, which wasn't featured in the original version and entered here and does wonderful. She owns the beat of the track. Let me tell you this. She completely subverts the original meaning of the lyrics, which were quite sexist, and makes it her song. Her version has more streams, peaked higher, it's what plays on the radio, it's what people dance to, it's what everybody knows. If you ask someone to sing you the lyrics of the original track, they probably wouldn't know because Luísa Sonza completely made the track her own. It's become sort of an iconic song for my group of friends this year, so it has that special sentimental value personally, but even just considering music, it's one of my favorites of the year for what she did with the track, for how I react to when it comes up, for its amazing beat, its interesting lyrics. If you know Portuguese, you'll probably see that it has some smart things, and for its melody, which is extremely catchy. Number 8, Free Yourself, Jessie Ware. Jessie Ware is an artist that I found out in 2020 with her album What's Your Pleasure, which is both my #1 album of 2020, and mind you, that was the year we had Folklore, Evermore, and Chromatica, and my favorite song of 2020, which is Spotlight. Last year she made an appearance in this list with Kiss of Life, her duo with Kylie Minogue, an artist that we found out last year and that sadly didn't release anything this year. One of the tracks Jessie Ware knew, which is from her upcoming studio album, which we will be listening to in this channel by the way, is Free Yourself. Jessie Ware has found her way in disco music. She said it herself in an interview, I believe it was with The Guardian, that if she had known disco music would be this accepted by everybody, she would have done it earlier. And I mean, I don't know why she couldn't figure out that the genre belonged to her, because the moment you hear her doing it, it's clear that it does. Her voice is silky and it's full of contrast and it's deep and it fits the disco beats like a glove. She owns the production. She sounds assertive, commanding, and makes you remind yourself of the great dance hits of the 90s, such as Rhythm is a Dancer, Rhythm of the Night, and other tracks like that by Corona and La Bouche. And she has that diva quality, that soul diva quality in her voice. I am very excited to see what she does with her next studio album, especially because I know it's gonna follow the path that Free Yourself followed. And if that's really gonna happen, then we're in for one of my favorite albums of 2023 already, and one of the artists that we will be definitely seeing in this channel next year. #7, This Hell Is Better With You, Rina Sawayama. We reacted to Rina Sawayama's second studio album, Hold the Girl, in this channel. And there were so many tracks that could have fit here. I could have added Hold the Girl, I could have added Holy Till You Let Me Go, I could have added Frankenstein, I could have added Send My Love to John, which is an outstanding ballad and one of my favorite songs of the year when it comes to lyrics. Probably even my favorite song of the year when it comes to lyrics, to be fair. It's a shame she wasn't nominated at the Grammys, but she absolutely should have. Anyway, putting that aside, she has an outstanding album out, which is Hold the Girl. If you have listened to it, good, you're in the right channel. If you haven't, please go bless your ears and listen to that while the year isn't over yet. It's definitely one hell of a way to enter 2023. Talking about my favorite song though from the album and from hers this year, This Hell samples ABBA's 1979 hit Gimme, Gimme, Gimme a Man After Midnight, who's also sampled by Madonna in 2005, Hung Up. And she makes an amazing upbeat song that just makes you want to dance and sing along to it during its entirety. It's one of my favorite tracks of the year, one of my favorite, well, my favorite track from the album, and one of the best in her career. I am definitely looking forward to see what she's gonna do next, because Rina Sawayama is destined to greatness, and I have known that since I listened to Sawayama 2 years ago. #6, Hasta los Dientes, Camila Cabello and Maria Becerra. Familia is Camila Cabello's third studio album. She dropped it this year and it's, oh my god, it's just so good. The entire album resembles her Cuban roots and it has styles of music that are very common to that area of America. The Caribbean, a little bit of Mexico, and what she did in that album is she collaborated with several artists who are from Latin America. One of them is Maria Becerra, an Argentinian artist that was with her in the track Hasta los Dientes, which is... I could have put other tracks in this album in this list. I could have easily had 3 tracks of her here, but rules are rules, and I had to choose just one, and I can't not choose Hasta los Dientes. This track is produced to perfection. They have such good chemistry to the point where I think this track couldn't have worked as a solo track. I honestly don't, because Maria Becerra enriches the song so much, and when they harmonize, when they sing together, while she's in her verse solo, while Camila's in her verse solo, and you have the combination of all of this together, it's just one of my favorite tracks of the year, and my second favorite collaboration of the year, because my favorite collaboration of the year comes in at number 5, opening our top 5, Santo, Christina Aguilera and Ozuna. Christina Aguilera was a big name this year. She was nominated for several Latin Grammys. She won one of them. She's also nominated for the actual, I should say maybe the non-Latin Grammys, and she has put out 2 EPs which make up an entire album, and she's about to put out another EP. We've listened to all of them, and there are a couple of tracks that could have made it here, such as La Reina or Cuando Me De La Gana, but it is Santo, her collaboration with Ozuna, that absolutely nails it. I never thought I wanted Christina Aguilera to go into reggaeton, but now I can't think of a better genre for her to venture into. Her powerhouse, her vocals fit perfectly in a reggaeton beat. She makes it one of the best tracks of the year. It sounds so tropical, so groovy, so good. And even though I'm not a huge fan of features, as you know from this channel, I still think Ozuna and her are a great match. Santo is for sure my favorite collaboration of the year, just slightly ahead of Hasta los Dientes. Not my favorite song in Spanish though. You're gonna have to sit tight for that one, but it is opening our top 5. Number 4, would've, could've, should've, Taylor Swift. 2022 was Taylor Swift's year, okay? There isn't a record she did not break with her 10th studio album, Midnights. We reacted to it in the channel, including the 3 AM tracks, and there were so many good songs. As always, she delivered. Midnight Rain, Karma, Lavender Haze, Maroon, Paris. These 5 tracks battled for a plate here. But it was actually in 3 AM edition that we got her best track this year. Would've, could've, should've is a statement of Taylor Swift's capacity as a songwriter. Yet another one. She took a situation that happened way back in 2010 and made it a song now. It's the grown-up version of her 2010 country masterpiece Dear John from her album Speak Now, which I am so glad we're finally getting. Apparently, if all the signs are correct, the next re-recording will be Speak Now. While we wait for that, we will be listening to Midnight, and I will be listening to and crying a lot to Would've, Could've, Should've, which is my favorite track of Taylor's this year, my favorite track of Midnight plus 3 AM edition, of course, and one of my favorite tracks in her discography and of 2022. Opening our top 3 is my favorite non-English song of the year, Despecha, Rosalía. We reacted to Rosalía in this channel this year. We heard entirety of Motomami, but she saved the best for later. It wasn't until October that we heard Despecha. Let me tell you, no track this year got me as addicted as Despecha did. I listened to Despecha 33 times in the day it dropped. It was my number 1 song in October, and it came out 2 days before the month was over. Its beat is catchy as all hell. Its lyrics, which I cannot understand, are catchy as all hell. Its melody, it's catchy as all hell. Rosalía sings in a fast pace, which is something she always does, and just gives it that thing that I had been craving. Not that Motomami was a bad album, I don't think that at all. If you watched my reaction to it, you know that there were quite a few tracks I liked a lot. For example, Bulerías and Motomami, Saoko and Sakura. But Despechá definitely took the cake as my favorite Rosalía track of the year, my favorite non-English track of the year, and my third favorite song of the year. Number 2, ladies and gentlemen, is Cuff It by Beyoncé. Renaissance was my first time listening to an album of Beyoncé in full. I may have heard all of Lemonade, I honestly can't remember if I have or not, but I definitely heard Renaissance. Here in this channel, actually, it was the first video that I recorded with this camera. I was still testing the waters, I'm not sure how it was quality-wise, but I am 100% sure of how the album was quality-wise. Break My Soul and Pure Honey was strong contenders for this placement, but I had to give it to Cuff It, which is a track that grew even more in me as I listened to it. It has become a viral, it's become a hit, it's become a top 5 hit in the United Kingdom, and one of the biggest tracks of her career since Single Ladies, basically. And it's very easy to see why. The track is groovy, it's catchy, it has amazing production, it fits the album so well, and she sounds beautifully. But then again, it's Beyoncé, and when does she not, right? Before our number 1 song of 2022, I have to talk about the honorary number 1. The honorary number 1 is a track that, because of the criteria, couldn't qualify, but it's a track that I heard for the first time in 2022, that wasn't released in 2022, but becomes my favorite song of the songs I found out in the year, but not my favorite song that was released in the year. With that said, my honorary number 1 is Fly Like a Bird by Mariah Carey. One of the best things, and I would say definitely the best thing I did this year regarding the channel and regarding music, was discovering Mariah Carey's discography. We are still not quite over it yet. We still have remixes, videos, rarities, but all her studio albums with 100% original material have been reacted to in this channel. And no track made me feel as Fly Like a Bird did. You probably have watched my reaction to Emancipation of Mimi, because right now it sits as my 3rd most watched video in this channel, only 1 month after its release. And when I watched it again, I think it's probably because of my Fly Like a Bird reaction. I was speechless, I was struck, I was appalled, I was in awe of what I heard. I had a neargasm, and I don't use this word very often because I think it's a very important thing to have, but it's something Mariah Carey definitely achieved. If it weren't for the criteria, she would safely, easily sit at number 1. But since it's not a track that was released in 2022, I don't feel like it's comfortable, I don't feel like it's fair to put it alongside tracks that were released in 2022. However, it wouldn't be fair either to not mention Mariah Carey's impact in 2022 for music to me, and the impact that Fly Like a Bird especially had in me in 2022. It's my number 1 song of 2022 on Last.fm. I have listened to it no less than 150 times, and it's only been 1 month, basically 2 months, since I first heard it. It's gonna grow because I can't go a day without listening to it. Fly Like a Bird is Mariah Carey's best track so far, and my favorite track that I found out in 2022, the track I listened to the most in 2022. My honorary number 1. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me pour some more champagne so we can celebrate the actual number 1 song of 2022. Do roll the drums. Used to Know Me, Charli XCX. I heard Crash, Charli XCX's 2022 album, in this channel. I reacted to it here, and it was the first Charli XCX album I listened to in full. And let me tell you, I am not a big fan of hyperpop. So much so that some of the more experimental tracks in this album I didn't really vibe to. But there was, almost at the end, one little track there that caught my attention. And that was Used to Know Me. It's dance pop perfection. Nothing short of it. Nothing short of outstanding. I've listened to it well over 100 times since I first heard it. It's my favorite track of the year. In fact, it's my favorite track in Charli XCX's discography, my favorite track in Crush, and one of the best tracks to have come out this decade, in my opinion, because it's catchy, it's groovy, it makes me want to dance, and I don't care if you think it's underwhelming. Some of the fans, and I know that for a fact, think it's one of the weakest tracks in her discography. To me, it's the strongest, it's the best, it's the one I like the most. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why Used to Know Me is my favorite track of 2022. And these, ladies and gentlemen, were my favorite songs of 2022. I hope you all liked it. If you didn't, let's have a conversation in the comments, shall we? I want to hear what's your favorite picks. What were your favorite songs of 2022? What's an artist you found out from 2022? What's a song from, I don't know, like Fly Like a Bird, a song from way back then that you first heard in 2022 and you absolutely loved and want to share it with me? This is a light video. I haven't said a bad thing about anyone. It's the end of the year, so as I said, we're drinking, we're sipping champagne, we're talking, you're listening to me, and that's it, because that was it for 2022 in this channel. I am beyond grateful of everything I've achieved, everything I've had in this year. I entered university, I made several new friends, the channel grew absurdly. I've reached just recently 600 subscribers. Let's see if we can get it to 1,000 next year, okay? Those are my goals for 2023. What are yours? I want to know. Happy New Year to everybody. I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.